Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this Horizon Europe launch in Brazil. My name is Charlotte and I am one of the two coordinators of EURAXESS in Latin America and the Caribbean. I will be your moderator today. That's why I have practical information for you. First, for our Portuguese-speaking audience. Esse webinar tem interpretação para o português. No Zoom, vocês podem selecionar o áudio em português clicando no pictograma chamado interpretação. Parece um globo. No meu Zoom está embaixo da tela à direita. No YouTube, o evento será todo em português. Now back to English. You will receive a recorded version of this webinar and the slides in a follow-up email that you will receive in the coming days. Well, without any delay, I would like to invite Mr. Inácio Ibanez, the European Union Ambassador to Brazil, for his opening remarks. Ambassador, thanks for being here. The floor is yours.
Many thanks, Charlotte. Bon dia, Brazil. Good afternoon, Europe. It is a real pleasure to welcome you all to this launch of the Horizon Europe program in Brazil. I would like to greet all the participants also in the name of the Director for Global Approach and International Cooperation of the Directorate General for Research and Innovation, my colleague and good friend, Maria Cristina Russo. I see many participants from different Brazilian research institutions, funding agencies, ministries, as well as scientific attachés from EU member states. Thank you very much for your presence. The event is also possible due to the excellent collaboration of EURAXESS with our supporting partner from CNPq and CONFAP. A special thank also to the participation of the Brazilian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Itamaraty, and from Professor Martucci, the Brazilian NCP's network coordinator and a good friend of the European Union. The EU delegations is continuously investing in fruitful partnership at federal level, but also with regional states and municipalities, taking into account the structure of Brazil, including also private sector, academic, and civil society. This partnership have proven valuable in promoting a constructive dialogue in a variety of topics, which most of them are covered by the EU Research and Innovation Programme, Horizon Europe. In the last EU-Brazil Joint Committee meeting under the Science and Technology Cooperation Agreement that took place on 24th March, both sides acknowledged the central role of research and innovation for the EU-Brazil overall cooperation. Moreover, in 2021, the COVID angle is embedded in all our activities, promoting solidarity, vaccine diplomacy, and multilateralism as an answer to global threats with a view on post-COVID recovery, and a stronger engagement through multilateralism. In this line, Brazil is an active actor and collaborative partner of the EU in different initiatives, which will be also supported by Horizon Europe. Indeed, Brazil is a strong player in the region and in the world. It is the 5th largest country in terms of land mass, the 5th in terms of population, among the 10th largest economies, an active player in the UN and various multilateral forums. Brazil is recognized as a strategic partner for the European Union and a crucial partner to pursue green and digital transformations. We are looking forward to continue our excellent collaboration in research and innovation with Brazilian scientific community, research organization, and companies under Horizon Europe. I am sure you will receive valuable information from today's information session. Thank you all very much for participating. Back to you, Charlotte.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. The objective of this launch event is to introduce the new European Framework Program for Research and Innovation called Horizon Europe, focusing today on the calls targeting Brazil or Latin America or matching the cooperation priority areas. We also aim at giving you practical information on how to participate from Brazil and show the existing networks in place to support you. These opportunities for scientific collaboration have to be put in the perspective of the new EU global approach for cooperation in research and innovation. In this context, it's our pleasure to count on the participation of the European Commission Director for Global Approach and International Cooperation, Maria Cristina Russo. Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Charlotte, and good afternoon to everybody in Brussels, but especially good morning to everybody in Brazil. It is for me a big pleasure to be here with you in order to formally launch Horizon Europe in Brazil, and it is especially for me a pleasure to be in such a good company. I would like to thank my dear friend, Ambassador Ignacio Ibáñez, for the very kind words that he said in his introductory speech. Especially what I would like to thank him for is his constant support to make research and innovation one of the key elements of the EU-Brazilian relations. And for that, of course, we can also count on the precious work of our colleague Laura Maragna, the policy officer in the EU delegation in Brazil, whom will talk later in more details about Horizon Europe. Of course, the great work of the delegation would not be possible without the great cooperation that we have with Itamaraty. And I would also like to thank very much Mr. Luis Fernando Machado for being here with us. And of course, the cooperation that we have and we have had during all these years with all our good friends from Brazil, which are very active in the field of research and innovation. And no need to say that Moacir Martucci, the coordinator of the Brazilian national contact points, is done huge work. And thank you to you, Moacir, for all what you have done for Horizon 2020 and all what you will do for Horizon Europe. Since I am in the words of thanking, I think that it's important for me also to express the gratitude that I have for the different colleagues and friends who work now or have been working in CNPq, CONFAP and FINEP. They have been really instrumental for the EU-Brazil scientific cooperation to flourish in the last years. And I hope that also with their support, we can have a situation with the new program Horizon Europe, which we're launching today, that will present even greater opportunities for our scientists to work together. Now, as Charlotte said, the program Horizon Europe will be presented later on by Laura Maragna, and we will have also specific presentation of the calls that specifically target the participation of Brazilian scientists. And of course, I didn't say at the beginning of my intervention, but I would like to thank and welcome all the Brazilian scientists that are here today. I think that there are over 1,000 participants, which makes this event very exciting. Now, I would like just to say two main points on Horizon Europe to highlight them. Horizon Europe, as its predecessor, Horizon 2020, is the largest multilateral research program in the world. This is amazing. This is a great opportunity that the European Union has set up such a program. And what is really important is that the Horizon Europe program, such as the Horizon 2020, is fully open to the participation of researchers from all over the world, which means in concrete terms that researchers from Brazil, be them from private or public institutions, they can basically participate to all the calls which will be launched under Horizon Europe, together with researchers from the European Union and from other countries in the world. And that is really a huge opportunity for this immense program, which has a budget of 95.5 euros for a duration of 7 years. I will not say more on Horizon Europe because, as I said, Laura will go in details and other colleagues will explain the calls, but that is important for me. And it is important to say it here in Brazil because Brazil for us, it's really a strategic partner in research and innovation. We have with Brazil an agreement on science and technology. We have Brazil, which participates in a leading position amongst all the Latin America region in our scientific cooperation. And Brazil is playing a very, very active role also in promoting the participation of the scientists in the European Union program by providing co-funding to the Brazilian scientists that have been selected in Horizon 2020 and hopefully will be selected in Horizon Europe. And that is why I'm very pleased to be here. Just on a personal basis, let me say that when I was appointed Director for International Cooperation many years ago now, my first international mission was to Brazil, and I always have left my heart there, and I've been working very hard to make this cooperation flourish in these years. Now, as Charlotte said, the Horizon Europe program, it is a part, it is the instrument of our global approach to research and innovation. And let me just put all that in the political context. The European Union is an important geopolitical actor, no need to say for me, and research and innovation is very important in this context. We have adopted in the European Commission in the month of May the guidelines for the future international cooperation that we called the global approach to research and innovation, which basically are the guidelines that follow our activity in Horizon Europe and follow the different, lay the foundation of the other activities that we will develop in international cooperation. Which is our motto, which is our policy message is that we are open, we want to be open as possible, but also we want to be more strategic in two ways. First of all, we want to have a cooperation which is much more focused in pursuing those which are the European Union strategic objectives. And here I refer to the green transition, to the digital transition, to the cooperation in health, in order to be able to, together through science and innovation, tackle the health challenges that we are all going through. And that is a very important point. And there, within these areas, the cooperation with Brazil is very important. Let me just say that the global approach to research and innovation builds on a very important alliance, global alliance that we have developed, including with Brazil, which is the All Atlantic Ocean Alliance, which is taken as a model in the global approach for research and innovation as those partnerships that we want to promote at international level in order to use research and innovation to really advance together with our partner countries on those areas which are of key interest of the European Union at geopolitical level. Brazil has joined the global the All Atlantic Ocean Alliance in 2015 in 2017, sorry, when the Belém Declaration was signed in Portugal. And in signing this declaration, Brazil teamed up with the United States, Canada, South Africa, and European Union. And that is one of the key deliverables that we have in our cooperation, as it was also highlighted in the Joint Steering Committee meeting that we had in March, to which the ambassador referred to. So that is the first point. We want to be open, we want to pursue better strategic interest, and we want to build our work on those strategic areas of cooperation. And then, going with that, we want to continue to focus our cooperation with key strategic partners or regions, and all the Latin America region. It's a very important region for us. And as I said already, Brazil has a leading role for us within the Latin America region. So these are the axes that guide our cooperation. And one last point that I would like to highlight is that, as you know, the European Union, as its institution, the European Commission, of course, is an European Union institution that works, especially in the field of research and innovation, with 27 member states. And what we make clear in our global approach is that in research and innovation, we need to join force the European Commission and the member states in order to work together with our strategic countries, partners outside Europe, to maximize the impact of what we want to do. And that's also what we want to do with our member states. And I'm glad to see that there are many also representatives of member states in Brazil attending this meeting. With those words, I think I hope that I was able to give you the policy context, and also I hope that I was able to give you a clear message to all of you attending the seminar, that we have the willingness, that we have the instruments in order really to make further advances in scientific cooperation between the EU and Brazil. My colleagues will explain in more details afterwards, and I hope that this seminar will give you the tools for fully tap the potential that we are offering, and that when we will look back and see how did Horizon Europe worked, we would be able to see that Horizon Europe was important in order to increase the scientific cooperation between the European Union and Brazil. With those words, I wish you a very nice and fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director. I will now turn to Luis Fernando Machado, the Head of Division for Technology Promotion at the Brazilian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Itamaraty, for his presentation on the priority areas of Brazil-Europe cooperation in science, technology, and innovation. Luis Fernando, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Charlotte. I want to salute all my Brazilian colleagues and also my European colleagues, especially in the name of Ambassador Ibanez and Director Russo. Thanks for the kind words and also for highlight the strategic feature of our bilateral cooperation when it comes to science, technology, and innovation. From the Brazilian government standpoint, we have the same position. So that's why it's a pleasure to be here today to say a few words about the dense cooperation with the European Commission we had within Horizon 2020 and also even before, and that we expect to continue in this new framework program. In 2004, we signed an agreement for scientific and technological cooperation with the European Union. So it's almost 20 years of bilateral cooperation that actually comes even before. But of course, the agreement created the framework for the bilateral cooperation, a joint steering committee where we identify opportunities, discuss problems, strive to guarantee funding for the approved projects, and set the bilateral priorities. When it comes to this mechanism, it's open and transparent mechanism that last March we had our 10th meeting. It doesn't not mean that our teams stop working between the meetings. We are in constant contact, and the bilateral project setting the mechanisms in the last meeting are completely aligned with the Horizon Europe priorities. That is sustainability, global health, digital transition, and also with the missions of the program, such as health oceans, climate neutral, and smart cities, and so on. Horizon 2020 was a very competitive and quality-driven program, and Horizon Europe will probably be no different. Well, to illustrate my assumption, the rate of approval of projects submitted within the Horizon 2020 was around 16%, And we're very proud that projects involving Brazilians had a higher approval rate of around 22%. This only shows that our researchers can compete on an equal footing with researchers from some of the most innovative countries in the world that are now located in the European Union. It is a positive competition because projects approved have a high quality and scientific robustness, and the results can possibly overcome global challenges. We want more Brazilians to take part into this consortia of researchers. However, it's very challenging to form these groups of researchers that will submit projects, particularly when we have an ocean dividing us or uniting us. I prefer this perspective. That's the reason why the national contact points of the program are so important, and my fellow colleague and friend, Professor Martucci, will elaborate on their task. National contact points are important not only to disseminate the opportunities of the program, but they should have an active role in connecting the Brazilian networks to the European ones. It's very challenging to submit a project within Horizon Europe, as it is to submit any project involving international counterparts. When it comes to international cooperation, the biggest challenge is to find value in cooperate with foreign counterparts. Why should one researcher jump into a project with someone in another continent with a different culture, a different language? So sometimes funding is not the issue, but good projects and partnerships. I know people will throw some stones at me because of the sentence, but the benefits of international cooperation, not just sharing costs, brains, infrastructure, but also having different perspectives to solve a problem. Certainly, the solutions found will have more impact. The message that I want to leave here today is that researchers are not alone in this endeavor. We have all the institutions here today, from the Brazilian government, from the European Commission, to help you to find the right connections and to transform projects into meaningful solutions for our societies and our world. Well, thank you for your attention. I pass the ball again back to you, Charlotte.
Thanks a lot, Luis Fernando. It was exactly the words I wanted to share to introduce Professor Moacir Martucci. Brazilian institutions that want to submit a proposal to a Horizon Europe call are never alone, because they have to be part of a consortium, of course, and also because of the extensive network of professionals to support you. So it is my pleasure to invite Professor Moacir Martucci, who, as my colleague said, is the coordinator of the Brazilian Network of National Contact Points, also called the NCPs. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Charlotte. Good morning, everyone. Good morning for my very good friends, Ambassador Inácio Ibanez, Director Maria Cristina Russo. I'm very happy to see you. I hope next time could be face-to-face. It's better, not than a virtual one. But all my friends, good morning or good afternoon. So it's a pleasure to stay here. It's an honor, in other words, in participate of this Horizon Europe launch here in Brazil. It's a great program. It's a very good opportunity for research collaboration and innovation collaboration between Brazil and the European Union. So I am very happy to see that the Brazilian participation could be better in Horizon Europe than that was in Horizon 2020. So I will say you some few words about the national contact point network or structure that we have or we are planning to have here in Brazil. So for Horizon Europe, we have this kind of network of the European, national contact points. We have one national contact point for each topic in Horizon Europe, and one more on ICT. So this is a special one in ICT, because ICT is a very strategic partnership that we have between the Brazilian institution, the Brazilian government, with the European Commission, European Union. So this is the structure. So it's a lot of boxes. It's not filled yet, but it's filling. We are feeling that, and we intend to have this network fully implemented by the end of July. So this is a desire that we have, because we have to nominate the national contact point, the individuals for that, and there is a proof on the Itamaraty, and another proof on the DG research and innovation on the European side. This is a process that we have to implement. But during the nomination, with the nomination process, we are working with the older one, the NCP, sorry, the NCP network for Horizon 2020. This is working yet. If you have some question to do, please, you can contact the current national contact points, or if you don't have the contacts, please contact me or Cecilia. In the last slide, I will present you the contacts for myself and Cecilia. So the operation of the Brazilian NCP network is a little bit different from the traditional European one. This is because the NCP in Brazil works together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Science and Technology and other ministers here in Brazil in establishing the mutual interest topics, in establish the collaboration, the mechanisms of collaboration, and also together with the delegation in Brazil, of course, and the EURAXESS is a very good partner of the Brazilian NCP structure or network. So we have meetings for that. We have 2 meetings each year to talk about the collaboration, to talk about the mutual interest topics, to talk about the instruments of co-funding. And we have a very active participation on Horizon Europe. Next one, Horizon Europe NCP networks. So we participate with as a member of a European NCP network on each topic of that you want to collaborate. There is a very active contribution to discuss the mutual interest topics in each area, together with our counterpart in Europe and together with our partners here in Brazil. This is to prepare the dialogues and the reports that we have during the collaboration time. So we have to promote also the calls in the mutual interest topics, the interest between Brazil and Europe, to interact with Brazilian funding agencies. It's very important because we have to find co-funding instruments to fund the Brazilian participation on the European projects, and to interact with the European Commission counterparts. It's very important also, because sometimes we have to put together the Brazilian research and Brazilian institutions with the European ones, and the European Commission counterparts help us a lot on that issue. And also to finalize, to help the Brazilian research to join the proposal and find cause of interest in the program. The program is very big, the program is very large, and to find a call is not so easy. And for that, the Brazilian NCP network can help the Brazilians to help these goals. So I think that that's the information that I want to pass to you. And you have in the screen the contact, the Cecilia's one and myself. Please feel free to contact me or Cecilia for any question or for anything that that you need or that one. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Moesti. Time has come to dive into Horizon Europe, the EU Framework Program for Research Innovation, and I'm very happy to invite Lara Maranya, Policy Officer at the Science, Technology and Innovation section of the European Union Delegation to Brazil, for an overview of the Horizon Europe program and its first work program for 2021 and 2022. Lara, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. I'm very happy to be here. A special thanks to the Ambassador, to the Director Cristina Russo for being with us today in this event, and the colleagues from Brazil, EURAXESS, CONFAP, CNPq, Itamaraty, and Professor Martucci. So let's move. The Horizon Europe program is the new EU research innovation program running from 2021 to 2027 with a budget of 95.5 billion euros. The program supports the implementation of the global approach to research innovation that was presented by the Director Russo. And this is a unique international research innovation program of such a scale and scope. It was conceived in co-design process with an open online consultation, and it helps to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Also, it helps the creation and better diffusion of excellence knowledge and technologies. We just had from 22nd to 24th of June, the EU Research Innovation Days, which is the annual flagship event bringing together policymakers, researchers, entrepreneurs, and the public to debate and shape the future of research innovation in Europe and beyond. I have put the hyperlinks here, but also will be shared with you in the chat. So for those who didn't have the chance to follow the discussions, you can click on the link and see. This is the Horizon Europe programming structure. We have the first pillar, excellent science, with the European Research Council and the methodological actions that will be presented by Charlotte Gravitz for you later. We also have research infrastructures under this pillar, which we also have a colleague from the thematic unit that will present the opportunities for Brazil on the research infrastructures. Then we have the second pillar, which is the global challenges one, with 6 clusters: health, culture, creativity and inclusive society, civil security for society, digital industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. We also have a representative here that will present for you the opportunities for Brazil under this cluster, and the Joint Research Center. The third pillar is the Innovative Europe. We have the European Innovation Council, we have the European Ecosystems, and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. We also have the block of widening participation and strengthening the European research area, covering all the 3 pillars, with some opportunities also for international cooperation that will be presented to you. A key novelty of the program are the EU missions, which are commitments to solve some of the greatest challenges facing the world, and an integral part of the Horizon Europe program. So a mission is a portfolio of actions across disciplines intended to achieve an inspirational and measurable goal within a set time frame, with impact for the society and for policymaking. The 5 mission areas are adaptation to climate change, cancer, healthy oceans and seas, climate neutral and smart cities, soil health, and food. Another novelty are the new approach to the European partnerships. So the partnerships are initiatives where the EU, the national authorities, and the private sector jointly commit to support research innovation activities. The partners can represent industry, universities, research organizations, public bodies at local, regional, national or international level, or civil society organizations, including foundations and NGOs. The partnerships aims to address complex challenges in Horizon Europe, such as accelerating transition towards a society and economy that are climate neutral and circular. There are three different types of partnerships: the co-program partnerships between the Commission and mostly private, but sometimes public partners, and there is the need of an MOU for elaborating the cooperation. There is also the co-funded partnerships using program co-fund action, and where EU countries with research funders from all over the world and public authorities are in the core of the consortium, and the institutionalized partnerships between the Union, the member states, and or the industry. But these partnerships, they require legislative proposals from the Commission and will only be implemented when all the parts of the Horizon Europe program, including other parts of partnerships, would not achieve the desired objectives or the expected impacts. But how to participate for those who are newcomers? As the director said, any legal entity, regardless of its place of establishment, is eligible to participate in the program. So first, you have to find an opportunity by accessing the funding and tenders portal. There is also a hyperlink in my presentation, and the link will be shared with you in the chat. When you find an opportunity or a call within your area of research, then another challenge is to find a partner, as Luis Fernando also said. So here I have some clues for you. Under each of the calls, you can find this tool of partner search. This is an example where you can see that 10 organizations are looking for collaborating partner for this topic. Under view and edit, you can also add your research organization for other partners to see that you're interested in collaboration under this topic. As Professor Moacir presented, we also have this very strong and robust network of NECPs, which can be contacted. We have also some platforms where you can find partners. On the left here, you can see that we have the Coronavirus Global Research Innovation Collaboration Portal that was launched on the 22nd of June. There is a hyperlink, you can see more. There is also the EURAXESS Brazil and LAC portal, which is very often disseminating the opportunities, and there's also the Enrich LAC project with this Latin American Caribbean RTI networking platform, where you can also try to find partners. But also it's important to consider the European researchers you have already worked with, because they certainly are aware about the opportunities on the Horizon Europe program. There are 3 evaluation criteria: excellence, impact, and quality of implementation. But as already said here, also by Charlotte, you need to engage in a collaborative project, which are most of the calls of the Horizon Europe. So third countries, which means that are neither EU member states nor associated, and not low and middle income countries, in case of Brazil, they are not automatically eligible for funding from EU. But exceptional funding is provided if the country is explicitly identified in the call for eligibility for funding, or their participation as beneficiary is essential for the project. So the legal entities that want to participate in the program, they have to build a consortium that should include at least one independent legal entity established in a EU member state, and at least 2 other independent legal entities established in different EU member states or associated countries to form this consortium and submit a proposal. So now let's focus on international cooperation of the Horizon Europe program. The aim is tackling together the global societal challenges and access to the world's best talent, expertise, and resources, and enhance supply and demand of innovative solutions. There is strong openness component to international participation, as already also mentioned here by the director, with intensified targeted actions and with strengthened support to multilateral cooperation. Now you're going to see a little bit in details what's in the first work program of Horizon 2020, that Horizon Europe, sorry, that we run from 2021 to 2022. So the work programs, they announce specific research and innovation areas that will be funded. It also foresees the forthcoming calls for proposal that will be accessible to the one-stop shop funding and tenders portal that I have mentioned before. So some key figures under this first work program that are more than 200 actions specifically relevant to international cooperation. There are 75 actions targeting cooperation with specific countries or regions, 30 actions contributing to key multilateral initiatives, and more than 3 billion euros of total EU contribution to international actions under the first work program. A little bit more in detail of each of the clusters, you can see here on the top the key figures, which are the topics which encourage international cooperation, the total EU contribution to these topics, and example of thematic areas. Under the health cluster, we have 7 topics which encourage international participation, and the topics of infection diseases, health impact of climate change, mental health, antimicrobial resistance, and so on. Under the second cluster, culture, creativity, and inclusive society, we have 9 topics which encourage international participation under the fields of politics and governance, cultural heritage, gender, and migration. Under the third cluster, or civil security for society, we have 16 topics which encourage international cooperation in disaster resilience, border management, fighting climate, and terrorism. Under the fourth cluster of digital industry and space, we have more than 30 topics which encourage international cooperation in the fields of manufacturing, raw and advanced materials, next generation internet, nanomaterials, and quantum. Cluster 5, climate, energy, and mobility, more than 30 topics which encourage or require international cooperation in the fields of water, energy for nexus, climate science, renewable energy, clean transport, biofuels, also support to the mission innovation, which Brazil is part and also is leading the innovation challenge on biofuels. Under the 6 clusters that will be presented soon to you in details, which is food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment, we have more than 55 topics which encourage or require international cooperation in the fields of food, nutrition and security, agriculture, biodiversity and ecosystems, circular economy, water, ocean and soil, pollution, and so on. And is also the block of widening participation and strengthening the European research area with 12 topics encouraging international cooperation in the topics of fair data policy, research ethics, open access, responsible research and innovation. There is also the research infrastructures under the first pillar that will also be presented in details for you very soon, with 9 topics that encourage or require international cooperation. And you can see here there is possibility for exceptional funding for those countries, including Brazil. The program will also contribute to key multilateral initiatives, as said, like mission innovation, the IPCC, the global pit iron infection diseases, and many others. We are having these days, since 28th of June until 9th of July, the info days under each of the clusters of the Horizon Europe program. We also share with you the link in the chat. So if you are interested in a specific topic and cluster, we invite you to follow the info days. Also here, we have other accounts and links where you can keep informed about the program. And I thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Charlotte.
Thank you very much, Laura, for this comprehensive presentation. We saw that there are plenty of opportunities for Brazilian institutions and researchers. We are lucky to count on the participation of 2 colleagues today from the Directorate General for Research and Innovation in Brussels, to present relevant calls for Brazil in the first Horizon Europe work program. So it's my pleasure to invite Caroline Potier from the Healthy Planet Unit to introduce the calls that are part of Cluster 6, already mentioned by Laura. Caroline, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Charlotte. Good morning, Brazil. And yes, I'm here today to present Cluster 6. Cluster 6 is about food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. Next slide, please. Next slide. So today I would like to present the opportunities for international cooperation in Cluster 6. As already mentioned, we have about 55 topics encouraging international cooperation. And in my presentation today, I will mostly focus on topics already published in calls for 21. I will present the topics according to the strategy for international cooperation, which was published in the communication of 18 May 2021 on the global approach to research and innovation. As you know, cooperation with other countries is crucial to address sustainability challenges, which are by definition global. And in international cooperation in Cluster 6 corresponds to strategic policy objectives with EU international partners. And our strategic policy objectives for the time being are mostly related to the European Green Deal. In Cluster 6, multilateral as well as bilateral approaches are supported. In the first EU program, we have 32 topics expressly encouraging international cooperation, and they have therefore been flagged for the European Union policy priority, a stronger Europe in the world. More topics will follow, as you know, in 2022. And I will also mention that 3 topics explicitly mention the relevance of cooperation with Brazil or Latin America. And in my presentation, these topics will be flagged with identifiers in blue. Next slide, please. So first, I would like to briefly introduce how we have built this work program. The initial thinking was that we have to maximize impacts if we want to address sustainability challenges. So first, we have identified long-term impacts in the strategic plan. In Cluster 6, we have identified 6 impacts. The first one on climate, second one on preservation and restoration of biodiversity and ecosystems, third impact on circular economy and zero pollution, the fourth impact on food and nutrition security, fifth impact on balanced development of rural, coastal and urban areas, and the sixth impact on innovative governance models enabling sustainability and also environmental observation use. And this has been translated into the work program in what we call destinations. It means big parts of the work program. And we have 7 destinations with 6 impacts because we have split the circular economy and bioeconomy sectors on one side from clean environment and zero pollution on the other side, because they correspond to different European Green Deal initiatives. So it means that we have in total 7 destinations, and we have reorganized them, and we considered that our flagship in Cluster 6 was about biodiversity and ecosystem services, and we have put this destination first. Next slide, please. Here I would like to present the calls already published in 21. We have 8 calls, in principle 1 call per destination, and all these calls have a deadline on 6 October 2021. But for biodiversity and ecosystem services, we have a specific call for the biodiversity partnership because we wanted to start the activities already in 2021. So we have a specific call with a more short deadline on the 22nd of July. And otherwise, we have one call per destination. And the destinations, I've just mentioned them. Next slide, please. So starting about the topics which offer opportunities for international cooperation, I would like to start with the area of ocean and the topics of interest for the All Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance. We have a topic in 21 on key oceanic and polar processes driving regional and global climate change, with a direct contribution to All Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance expected. And in 22, there will be a corresponding topic more focusing on understanding the ocean carbon cycle. Otherwise, we have a series of topics focusing a bit more on marine and coastal biodiversity, one topic on understanding and valuing this kind of biodiversity. We have also a topic to assess and predict integrated impacts of cumulative direct and indirect stressors on coastal and marine biodiversity. Also a topic which is about innovation actions on demonstration of measures and management for coastal and marine ecosystems restoration. And another topic of interest is about maritime spatial planning and identification of marine protected areas. And also I wanted to mention here a topic in 22, which will be the basis to launch the European Partnership for Blue Economy. Next slide, please. We have in the area of Earth observation, in cluster 6, we have several topics targeting environmental observation. In 21, we have a topic about user-oriented solutions building on environmental observation to monitor critical ecosystems and biodiversity loss and vulnerability in the European Union. A topic on tools to support the uptake and accessibility of an environmental observation, and a topic on data space to provide more accessible and exploitable environmental observation data in support of the European Green Deal priority actions. And also I would like to mention an important topic in 22 about new technologies for acquiring in situ observation data sets to address climate change effects. Next slide, please. An important area of cooperation is about bio-based systems and international bioeconomy forum. And in this area, we have a number of topics to tackle outbreaks of plant pests, a topic on vaccines, a topic on research and innovation for blockchain technologies in the agri-food sector. We have a topic on C2fork transparency and consumer engagement, a topic on filling knowledge gaps on the nutritional safety, allergenicity, and environmental assessment of alternative proteins, and a topic of interest also on microbes for healthy and sustainable food and diets. Next slide. Also in the area of circular economy and bioeconomy, I would like to mention topics on contained biomass solutions for sustainable and zero indirect land use change, topic on microbiomes for bio-based innovation and environmental applications, and a topic on new genomic techniques to understand the benefits and risks, focusing on bio-based innovation. Next slide,
Caroline,
please.
your time is almost over.
Okay, thank you. An important area, and I will finish quickly on this, is biodiversity and ecosystem services, where we have a number of topics of interest. Here we have several topics mentioning in particular the importance of cooperation with Brazil, a topic to quantify impacts of the trade in raw and processed biomass on ecosystems for offering new leverage points for biodiversity conservation, and a topic to understand the impacts of and the opportunities offered by digital transformation, new emerging technologies, and social innovation on biodiversity. Next slide. Also, again, we have an important topic on the nexus of extraction, production, consumption, trade, and behavior patterns and climate change action on biodiversity in the context of transformative change, for which cooperation with Brazil would be welcome. Next slide. And on climate, we have several topics in the area of ocean, in water, with the European Partnership Water Security for the Planet, and some topics on international research on agriculture for soil carbon sequestration and agroforestry. Next slide. So I would like to mention that we will have the info days on Cluster 6 on the 7th and 8th July, and it will be followed by with an event, a brokerage event on 9 July. The info days are open without prior registration, but the brokerage event requires prior registration. And I would also like to recall that we remain open for informal discussions on how we could discuss the follow-up for the participation of Brazil in the calls on Horizon Europe. I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Sorry for pressing you. We have a very busy agenda. So I would like now to turn to Lorenza Sahako from the ERA Governance and Implementation Unit to introduce the opportunities within the topic of research infrastructures. Lorenza, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Charlotte. So let's start. It's a pleasure for me to be today here to present the structure and the interesting topic for Brazil in the Research Infrastructure Work Program. But before moving to the work program, I would like to explain you what we intend for research infrastructure. The definition of research infrastructure is given under the legal text of the framework program, so it's constraining definition. And for us, research infrastructure, the one that we support under the framework program, are facilities providing resources and services to research community to conduct research and foster innovation. They can be single-sided, distributed, virtual, and very important that they provide access to external users. They are not just a research lab or piece of equipment in a research lab that serve only the local staff and their collaborators. They are really provider of scientific services to wider community, scientific community. They can be knowledge-related facilities like archive, data infrastructure, major scientific equipment like telescope, research vessel, or ICT infrastructure like computing system and communication network. In the structure of Horizon Europe, the research infrastructure part is part of Pillar 1, as Laura was mentioning. We have a budget of 2.4 billion. In a nutshell, what our work program will support under what is our work program, first work program 2021-2022. It includes 5 destinations. Our destination are package of action contributing to specific objective and expected impact. We'll have 10 courses, 6 in 2021, 29 topics, and other action will include also a grant to identify the beneficiary to support the International Conference on Research Infrastructure 2022 in Czech Republic, and also interesting for Latin America, one of the specific grant agreement to the Framework Partnership Agreement for GEANT, the European Research and Education Network, the one in 2021, which indeed works on international connectivity with various geographical areas, including Latin America. And Bella is indeed the cable with Brazil. 608 million of total budget, and a section specific feature for research infrastructure that is very important for applicants that want to participate to the destination InfraServe. And let's have a look to the destination. Those are the 5 destinations that structure our work program. InfraDev focus on developing, consolidating, optimizing the European landscape, maintaining global leadership. Under this destination, we also support the action for international cooperation for research infrastructure. And the first work program, as mentioned by Laura, we will have only one action for cooperation with Africa on climate change capacities to make research on climate change. Then InfraEOSC, that will enable an operational open and fair European open science ecosystem. InfraServe, that is indeed the destination in which those topics that have a specific exception for some third countries, including Brazil, for eligibility for funding are covered. And those focus on the provision of research infrastructure services to support earth research, to accelerate the green and digital transformation that are main priorities of the European Union and the global challenge, but also to advance frontier knowledge. Infratech will instead support the development of the next generation of scientific instrument, tools, method, and advanced digital solution for research infrastructure. To upgrade the research infrastructure. And Infranet is instead the one that will support the further deployment and development of GEANT, the European Network for Research and Education. So,
Lorenza?
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. Just one quick note. Could you slow down a little bit to ease up the translation for the Portuguese audience?
Yes.
And also we see 2 gray boxes on your slide. If you manage to delete them, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, don't worry. We will share afterwards. Thank you and sorry again.
Okay, no, okay. So, under your destination InfraServe, the 2021 call include 7 topics. 6 of them are indeed open to exceptional funding for Brazil, except the one on imaging data. This destination has 2 types of topics: the challenge-driven topics that support research infrastructure services, enabling research addressing specific challenges, and the curiosity-driven topics that support research infrastructure services, enabling research in broad scientific domain, frontier research, curiosity-driven research. So the area that we will tackle under this call is cancer. I have to say that this priority are very much in support also of the Pillar 1 activities and the Pillar 1, the Pillar 2 priorities. But the difference is that here we really provide the services. We don't directly fund the research. We fund the provision of research infrastructure services to enable research. So indeed, the area that we will target with our provision of research infrastructure services are cancer, resilient agriculture and agroecological transition, climate-related risk on the environment, development of material for a circular economy, so always services, research infrastructure service for sustainable and inclusive global value chain and Europe recovery from different socioeconomic crises. This one, services for a better use of imaging data, and the last one is the curiosity-driven provision for frontier, the provision of research infrastructure services for advancing frontier knowledge in 3 domains that are the geosphere, including risk, biosphere, ecosystem, and particle and nuclear physics. We expect to support at least one project for each area. Therefore, I mean, also for under the topic curiosity driven, we would expect at least one project for each of the 3 domains. The common feature of this topic are in particular that they support the provision by research infrastructure of transnational and or virtual access to researcher, and they made available to researcher the widest and more comprehensive portfolio of research infrastructure services which are relevant for the scope. So this means that here we expect really large grants, large project, larger proposal. The budget is did range between 10 and 15 million of euro, except for the one on imaging data, that is the one that is not open to exceptional funding. Therefore, I mean, sometimes the consortia that apply to this project are really include up to 100 and more of participants. Therefore, it is important, and the inclusiveness of the proposal is taken into account in the score. So it is clear that you cannot participate alone to the grant of this type. You have really to try to integrate in this large consortia. The main feature of access provision is that the EU grant support a set of research infrastructure for the provision of access to researcher, academic and industrial, but the EU fund does not cover the cost of the research work of the users, because this should be funded by the research institution, but the cost incurred by research infrastructure in providing access to them, and also it reimburses the travel and subsistence of users when they need to visit the research infrastructure. The grant should advertise the access offered, clearly to make aware researcher of this opportunity. And for transnational access only, they should set up a selection panel to select the user, and open call for user under the grant. What is transnational access is the free of charge for the user provision of access to a research infrastructure to selected researcher. This is important through the selection board or research team, usually working in a country other than the country where the research infrastructure is located, and can be in person when the user hands-on when the user visits the infrastructure, or remote scientific service, like for example provision of reference material or remote access to a high-performance computing facility. Virtual access is instead the provision of open and free access to digital resources and services needed for research. So it could be similar to the remote transnational access, but the main difference is that we do not select the user for virtual access, because usually these resources are limited, not depletable, so they can be offered to many researchers at the time as needed. However, the access could be restricted, and the grants could define some specific eligibility criteria for the user to be served, for example, affiliation to a research or academic institution. So I will jump on this. You can have you will have the slides so you can see more in detail. And if we move to how it works, the participation of third country in these access provision grants. The third country organization can participate in access provision grants, even as access provider, as indeed highlighted by this condition, in particular when they offer complementary or more advanced services than those available in Europe. Thus, services that are able to attract EU and associated country users. So it is really important that this infrastructure are at a very high level, at world level. This is not given only by the quality, I mean, by the advancement of technologies of the infrastructure, but sometimes also by the uniqueness of this infrastructure. For example, an ecosystem in Amazonia has an is so unique that it's clearly you cannot find in Europe. So the EU funding can be provided to third countries, usually if they are eligible for funding, if they are essential. But in our case, in the case of this topic, we have to take into account of the specific condition that mentioned that considering the Union interest to make accessible to its researcher the most advanced research infrastructure wherever they are in the world, legal entities established in a list of countries that include Brazil, which provide under the grant access to their research infrastructure to researchers from member states and associated countries, are exceptionally eligible for funding from the Union under this topic. So when they act indeed as access provider, in this case, if they act as access provider, also other type of costs will be supported for their participation. If instead they participate in one of these grants not as access provider, then there is not this automatic eligibility for cost given at this condition, but they could still be funded if they are really essential. This is what concerns the eligibility, the participation of entities. But as you know, also researchers from Brazil could participate under, could indirectly benefit from access to research infrastructure under the running grants, also the one that are still running under Horizon 2020. And here, as I mentioned above, a user group is eligible when it works in country different from where the installation is located. But also user group with a majority of users working in third country can be eligible if the access provided to them is below the 20% of the total access provided by the grant. So indeed, it's really a very large share of opportunities for user group, or user group can also be a single user that works in third country. So
1 minute warning.
Okay, I'm finishing. So a user for a third country can be eligible if it's a part of a user group with the majority of users working in the EU or associated states, or if it's a part of a third country user group, but within this 20% limit. Be careful that it's the country where the user works that should be used for the eligibility and not the nationality. Some numbers, just so far we have supported the 15,500 unique user, 1,430 comes from 68 different countries. America leads with 577, and Brazil has 63 different users that comes from Brazil, and leads the country in Latin America with the largest share of transnational users. And there are more than 3,150 installations. 96 come from 12 third countries, and from America 38, but however there is only Chile that was able to indeed open infrastructure from Latin America and to infrastructure in the field of astronomical research. And I conclude showing that if you are interested to looking at this access opportunity, you can look on the website of the National Contact Point Grants for Research Infrastructure. This is the one of Horizon 2020, but it should be soon available, the one for Horizon Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorenza. Sorry for pressing you again.
No.
Telling you to slow down and then to the time is
Yeah,
over. I'm really sorry for that.
No, I know that the time is very, very dense now.
Okay. If you have questions, please type them in English in the Q&A section of the Zoom so we can assess them at the end. Okay. Well, as one of the two EURAXESS coordinators in Latin America and the Caribbean, it's my duty to promote researchers' mobility in the region. And when I say mobility, the idea is not to spend some months in Europe or even do a full degree and then you come back to Brazil and then that's it. Thanks to the mobility period, you will gain for sure academic knowledge, but you will also develop new skills, soft skills, and most important, you will build a network. You will work in Europe with researchers from Europe, of course, but also from all over the world, with whom you will certainly continue collaborating publishing, submitting patents all your life. That's why I would like to highlight the main two programs within Horizon Europe that support researcher mobility, namely the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, also called MSCA, with a budget of more than 6 billion euros for the period of 7 years. And the European Research Council, the ERC, with a budget of over 16 billion euros. As you know, there are two ways to participate in a Horizon Europe call. First, as an institution or as an individual researcher. Laura told us our Brazilian institutions are totally eligible to participate in Horizon Europe calls, unless it's stated differently in the call. But you know that you are not always eligible to receive funding from the European Commission. In other terms, except in some cases, Brazilian institutions must bring their co-funding. In the case of individual researchers interested, for example, in a research stay in Europe, it's totally different. You Brazilian researchers, you are fully eligible to funding under the MSCA and the ERC. And I will detail it for you. Starting with MSCA, the main European Commission program for research, training, and mobility. And for those who knew the program under Horizon 2020, you will note that MSCA has remained the same in substance, although it was simplified. That's why we say evolution, not revolution. Well, again, in MSCA, there are two possibilities. First, you can participate as an institution. And then two actions are relevant for you, mainly. First, you can join a network with other institutions training PhD candidates. This is the MSCA Doctoral Networks call. It's open now until November. Second, your institution can participate in a staff exchange project, which is undertaken through the short-term mobility of your staff, researchers, technicians, administrative staff that contribute to the project for a duration of 4 years. And I have to say that Brazil is a champion in this action with many, many participations. In both cases, Brazilian institutions must bring their co-funding unless its participation is deemed essential for the project. Okay, on the other side, you can participate, you can benefit from the MSCA as an individual researcher. Either that you want to do a PhD in Europe funded by MSCA, and you find the position on the EURAXESS portal when they are open. I will show you in a minute. Or if you want to do a postdoctoral stay and acquire new knowledge and skills, sometimes work with the private sector also, and with that increase your career prospects, which is the objective of this fellowship. But we know that brain circulation is important. It's not only about you going to Europe, but I would like to stress that the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship allow you to bring EU-based researchers to your lab in Brazil for up to 2 years. And this is fully funded by the European Commission. The call is open now until October, so I would invite you to explore this possibility. Now, let's see what the European Research Council has for you. The ERC, as you know, is a funding body that selects the very best researchers from everywhere in the world to conduct frontier research in Europe in all areas of knowledge. The grants are individual and they are accessible as early as with 2 years of experience after PhD. So it's also for young researchers. The amount of the grant depends on your level of experience and your needs, either if you are a starting researcher and you want to build a team, or if you want to consolidate your team and your career, or if you are already an advanced scientist. There is also a group grant for 2 to 4 PIs, principal investigators, with a truly bold project, research project. And the good news is that one of the the 2 to 4 PIs can be settled in Brazil if it is relevant for the project, while his or her colleagues are in Europe. Other possibilities offered by the ERC, you can be hired by one of the principal investigators to work in his or her team as a PhD candidate, as a postdoc, as a researcher, and then it's a guarantee that you will work with the best researchers in Europe. The open position should be found on the EURAXESS portal also that you can see on your screen. Finally, there is a possibility to also undertake a temporary mobility in an ERC team, thanks to the CONFAP CNPq call. And Elisa, my colleague Elisa Natola, will tell you more soon. Besides obtaining information and support on EU funding for mobility from us, EURAXESS in Brazil and in Latin America, you can count also on EURAXESS to help you with your mobility projects, even if they are not funded by the European Commission. EURAXESS offers 5 main tools, that are accessible from the portal that you can see on your screen that I'm sharing. Of course, when a scientist is considering a research stay in Europe, he or she needs a job. That's why the first portal of EURAXESS is called EURAXESS Jobs. It's an online free of charge database offering career opportunities. For example, you will find job offers. Of course, they are all related to science and innovation, right? You will find also funding opportunities and hosting offers from institutions that are willing to host you as visiting researchers. Well, you can also count on EURAXESS to test your abilities and find online trainings on the career development module. You can also, EURAXESS can also help you finding partners. And Laura said that you can use the EURAXESS partnering tool to find institutions and researchers and maybe submit a candidacy to one of the Horizon Europe call, right? So now when you are ready to cross the ocean and start a research stay in Europe, our colleagues from EURAXESS Information and Assistance, they help researchers and their families organizing their relocation and arrival in the new country. There are more than 550 EURAXESS offices across 42 European countries, and they deal with a variety of topics such as visa, housing, social security, and for sure they can help you. So do not hesitate to contact them. Each of the 42 countries has its own national portal that you can access from our homepage. Last but not least, EURAXESS Worldwide. This is the international arm of EURAXESS, where you can find us, EURAXESS, Brazil and LAC. And we are at your disposal to provide relevant information and also discuss your individual projects and help you through the process. To use all the functionalities of the EURAXESS portal, I invite you to create an account. It's free, and then you'll be able to publish your CV if you want. So you can also create alerts. So when a position is published matching your profile, you can receive a notification. You can also look for partners and much more. Well, I invite you to register in our mailing list and follow us also on Facebook and Twitter. Watch our recording of our activities. It's the best way to stay updated with what we do. And also with doing that, you won't miss any of the opportunities that we identify for you and that we disseminate. So we are at your disposal to support your mobility project. Please contact us. We'll be happy to help. Now I would like to invite my colleague Elisa Natola, who's advisor for cooperation with the EU at CONFAP and CNPq. And she's going to share practical advices on how Brazilian entities can engage in the call and detail the support offered by Brazilian funding agencies. Elisa, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much, Charlotte. Thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this important moment of new beginning of this Horizon Europe program, which is extremely challenging and And we are always very happy to contribute with our strong partnership. And I talk on behalf of CONFAP, CNPq, and all the Brazilian entities which are engaged in this important cooperation. So I would just like to give some practical orientations on how Brazilian entities can take part of the program and engage even more. We know that it has always been a very successful participation, and we think that the new program will give even more positive results. So just to give a quick recap on what Laura already anticipated on the non-automatically funding rule, which applies to Brazil. This is important to stress because it is something that keeps us engaged and involved, and also justifies all the activities that we are bringing forward in our cooperation with the European Commission, in order to support Brazilian entities in getting some co-funding in order to participate to the calls. So we know that Brazil is not automatically eligible, so as other countries, although in some cases it has been considered a strategic or essential participation. And just to point out that this is still possible, especially in some cases in which the consortium and the granting authority considers that Brazil has absolutely an essential role in the project. It is effectively possible to be funded through the program, whereas, for example, in case of outstanding competence or expertise of the proposed activities in the project, or access to particular research infrastructures, as we have seen before as an example in which this is planned, or access to particular geographical environments, which is particularly relevant and true for Brazil, so as access to particular data. In other cases, we see that it is necessary to act and to move for co-financing to cover this participation. So reminding also what Charlotte said, individual researchers do not need our support because they are already fundable by the program. Although, for example, in case of individual researchers, so in case of Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowships, we also provide another type of support, which is not through funding, but through assistance for the proponents, as CONFAP is NCP for the program, so we give orientation and support in their participation in the program. We do information sessions, and we just try to disseminate opportunities for matchmaking as well. And for what concerns other type of projects which necessarily engage institutions, so the funding is not automatically eligible. So in all the types of calls in which you see independently if it's a research and innovation action, an innovation action, or a coordination support action, so on the type of project which is foreseen in the calls, it is necessary to seek for co-funding or participate with own funds, which is also possible. So in this sense, we have advanced in our dialogue since the beginning of Horizon 2020, finally arriving to an administrative arrangement which engages, apart from CONFAP, CNPq, FINEP, and the European Commission, which are the signatories of this arrangement, which has already been implemented in the past. And now we are about to sign its new phase. It's a new signature. It's a new agreement, which will cover the whole duration of the program until 2027. So it is still not signed because we were waiting for the official launch of the program, which has now occurred, and so now we are ready to step forward. And the objective remains the same as before, so we intend to provide supporting mechanisms in order to incentivize EU-Brazil cooperation in research and innovation, and try to give practical and concrete opportunities to Brazilian entities to participate in the program. So in practice, how does this work? We have different types of modalities which are possible. First of all, through support to collaborative activities, which this means exactly that. In all those calls in which Brazilian entities can participate in consortia, they can ask for support to the funding agencies which are involved. Depending on the call, depending on the availability and interest of the funding agency, depending on the theme, it is possible to ask for support. So through the co-financing mechanism, which has already been implemented in the past, it is possible to co-finance Brazilian participation within consortia together with European and international partners. This is one of the possibilities. Another possibility is through what we call twinning of parallel collaborative activities. This means that no extra funding is given, but we put in place activities and mechanisms which put in contact projects which are respectively funded by the sides involved. For example, large-scale projects which are funded by the framework program from Europe. We put in place activities in which we try to put in contact those large-scale projects that are financed in Brazil and facilitate the communication and synergies and capitalize the respective investments and activities and achievements, or through coordinated calls for proposals. So this is something that has to be defined along the program. It is possible to define themes that are common or are of common interest. The calls are built together and they are co-funded specifically in a EU-Brazil dimension. This is
Did we lose Elisa?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay, you were cut for 2 minutes, so if you can resume.
So when I was,
anyway. It was just now.
Okay, okay. So I'm just, I was saying about the joint calls. Did that go through, the coordinated calls? Yes.
Exact.
So finally, another type of cooperation activities which we carry out is that we are always in constant exchange of information, and we do activities of dissemination, awareness raising, capacity building together in order to do some capacity building and to make the cooperation possible and the information circulate, because this is important to get to know the opportunities and to know how to take profit of them. And in practice, how does this work? Under Horizon 2020, we have implemented it in a certain way, and we intend to proceed in the same logic. So we have published. When I talk about we, I intend to the Brazilian State Funding Agency, our FAPs, published guidelines to support Horizon 2020, and the same thing has been done from CNPq. And this has been done either on an open dimension, supporting the whole program, or on a targeted dimension, supporting specific calls. And another action that we do in some cases in order to target exactly some calls that we think are more of interest and more aligned also to the priorities defined at the policy level, we launch targeted calls in order to support specific themes and also to reach easier our target groups. Another possibility is to make available existing funding programs which can be activated in order to participate in these consortia. So it is possible, it has already happened, that it is not a specific extra funding, but some funding that is done, it is already provided for research groups or for researchers, can be used as a complementary funding in order to participate in these consortia, or the twinning of activities, which I have briefly mentioned before. So this, for example, we have done such type of activities with some big research projects with the Brazilian INCTs and Horizon 2020 projects, which is also a possibility. It is always important to keep in mind that in all cases, since the rules are different, because we're talking about different funding agencies, so the federal one is CNPq and FINEP, they are the federal ones, and then we have at state level 26 funding agencies. So each applicant needs to consult its own funding agency, either the federal one for everybody. In case of state funding agencies, they need to consult their FAP in order to understand and get orientation on which are the rules, which are the possibilities, which are the budgets. And in case of support to specific calls, also specific guidelines are published. And CONFAP has a coordination role in this sense, because we try to help the communication to get through and to ease the cooperation and the support to be given. So these are some examples of what we have implemented so far. I think just some few examples, as we still have no opportunities to show at the immediate, because we will do it as soon as we sign the arrangement. But we will keep on moving in the same direction. This is quite agreed. For example, we have recently launched a call in order to support Brazilian participation in the European Green Deal call. So we have encouraged Brazilian entities to take part of consortia. We still have to know which are the results. The evaluation is still ongoing. And the Brazilian participation can be supported by the Brazilian funding agency which participated, in this case, CONFAP and CNPq. The same type of support, for example, is given. We have done specifically on an emergency logic during the COVID pandemic for 2 calls which were published by the European Commission. And this is something that we're very proud of, because we did it really quickly, because it wasn't something we were planning, of course. And we really managed to open the possibilities to participate on a very, very short time frame. And so this flexibility and the familiarity to implement this type of calls gives us also possibility to react quickly to emerging demands. So we have 2 calls launched in this case, and another type of action that we do that Charlotte mentioned is with the European Research Council. We have an agreement, an implementing arrangement, which we have signed, and we publish annually calls in order to support the mobility of Brazilian researchers from Brazil to integrate research groups of projects approved by the European Research Council. This is a very, very interesting opportunity as well. We have just concluded 1 call, which is now under evaluation, and we will launch a 2nd call now in the second part of the current semester. There are 616 ERC projects open to receive Brazilian researchers in all fields of knowledge and frontier research, so it's an excellent opportunity. And this is always something that we have had a very good performance. Brazilian participation is outstanding. It's more than any other country which has signed implementing arrangements with the European Commission, and we always have a very good result. The success rate of this call is always close to 100%, so it's a very good opportunity, and we also thanks EURAXESS to also help us always to disseminate, and also the EU delegation. Other type of calls which we launch, and this is something that will be done now also in connecting to what Laura presented, which are the European partnerships, are calls which have been implemented in the past throughout mechanisms which were called ERANETs, which are projects, which are calls which are supported by funders. So group of funders, in this case, more than funders. So partnerships are a wider spectrum of actors. But in any case, from our side, we participate with our state funding agencies, and also federal funding agencies are interested in thematic teams. So for example, we have implemented several in the field of water research, on personalized medicine and ocean research, microplastics, a lot of environmental related themes, biodiversity and climate change. So now we are still defining our participation in this context, but we are already advancing very well with the water partnership, the biodiversity partnership, and also in the field of health. So this is a we plan to continue to provide, apart from the specific calls which are defined by Horizon Europe, and we incentivize the participation of Brazil. Also in the partnerships now, the future partnerships, they will launch joint calls gathering a very wide number of partner countries and funding agencies. And each country funds its own researchers. So Brazil, through the funding agencies involved, will be able to fund the participation of Brazilian entities and institutions. And this has been very successful. We have implemented several across the years, and we're already planning also in the field of ocean research and water and biodiversity. For now, this is what we are advancing on, but we are very open to widen our embrace and try to work even more intensively in the future. And
30-second warning, Elisa.
I'm finished. And so this is my contact if you need any further information or support. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was very clear. Sorry for being late a little bit. I would like to thank all the distinguished speakers and the co-organizers of this event, the EU delegation, the support of CONFAP and CNPq. We know it was a lot of information and you may have several questions. We noted some of them already. We will try to address the most pressing ones, and we will stay at your disposal to answer further questions after the events, okay? Laura, I would like to turn to you to ask about a pressing topic, which is many Brazilian researchers obtained grants to do a stay in Europe, either study or research stay, and they are not able to travel because they don't manage to get their visa. Can you say a word about that?
Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, indeed. So the political session here with the consular group, they are following very close this topic with the member states. But indeed, the students, they have to go to the embassy of the member states they are willing to go to. So I think you also have some updated information in EURAXESS, right? Website.
Indeed, you can look at EURAXESS national portals to find updated information on the COVID situation and entry conditions in each country, given that they are sovereign and the conditions depend on the national authorities. Laura, could you explain again a little bit about should the Brazilian institution only apply to the calls that were mentioned today or that target Brazil, or can they apply to other also?
Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, so the program is fully open, as I said before, to international partners and for Brazil. But there are some specific calls targeting Brazil that were presented for us today. And I saw also in the Q&A chat someone proposing that we make like a list as we did in the past with some specific interesting calls targeting Brazil, or that we can think that it could be of interest, because indeed the program is huge and we are planning to do that, and we will disseminate together with our partners.
Thank you, Laura. It was indeed a request from the audience. Could we have a list, please? So it's on its way. Laura, could you say a word about participation of SMEs and other Brazilian industrial partners? Are they allowed it, or is it given priority to the academic partners?
No, Charlotte, they can participate. Any legal entity can participate in the program. Okay, you just have to be registered in that participants portal. And we will share all the presentations with you. They will be available at the EURAXESS website, where you can see the hyperlinks of the funding and tenders portal, also some clues about where to find partners, which I saw that was also a frequent question here.
Okay, thank you. Caroline, we have members of the audience that are willing to participate in some calls that are at the frontiers of your cluster and other clusters. So how should they proceed from now on? Should they attend both events next week, or do you have any suggestion?
This is a difficult question because we have planned our event quite independently. However, there are some sessions where we explain a bit the connection between, for instance, cluster 5 and cluster 6. So I would suggest they choose the cluster with which they have the most interest, and make sure that they attend especially the sessions where we explain the complementarities and synergies.
Thank you very much. Lorenza, we have also questions regarding the Brazilian infrastructure. You know that Brazil has very interesting infrastructure and top infrastructure in the country. Is there a list of infrastructure that European partners are interested in?
No, I think there is not such a list, but it's clear that research infrastructure from Brazil should look at the opportunities that are open and see if they could contribute. Again, it's always some kind of services that you should provide under these grants, but it's a win-win situation, because when you host a foreigners researcher, it's true that you give a service, but you get knowledge, you get future collaboration. So I mean, it's also very beneficial for the host to give access. So indeed, what I advise is to look if indeed they have something relevant in the topic that we have opened, and then try to contact the coordinator or the people at the European level that will apply for that proposal. Take into account that we mainly expect one large proposal per topic, except the sixth one. So I mean, it would be easy to contact world-class European research infrastructure to know who is leading the consortia, and then offer the services and see if there are opportunities for participation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for highlighting this win-win cooperation. I think this is the idea behind Horizon Europe global approach. So thank you for mentioning that again. Lara, for your final consideration, I would like to know if you have any tip on the next step. What should our researchers and institutions do next?
Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, we know this was just a first session to launch the program. A lot of information that will be indeed available in the website of EURAXESS. And we plan to do many other events throughout the year, focusing on specific clusters. As Professor Marcy said, we are planning to do something on cluster 4 on digital. Also with FGV, we are planning to do something on cluster 2. So stay connected with us, following all the links we will be sharing with you in the website. And well, it's a lot, but it's just the first event. So much more is coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. Indeed, it's a lot of information, but it's really worth it. So we thank you again for your interest in Horizon Europe. Stay tuned for the next calls. They will be announced, as Laura was saying, on EURAXESS Brazil and the EU delegation media, as well as Brazilian close partners that we would like to thank again for the collaboration. We look forward to your active participation and we'll be ready to support you. Have a nice day.